Hello, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Production House Podcast, where I will be chatting with the hidden heroes of dance music culture and the people that are the glue of operations behind the scenes. My name's Stretch, so if you're sitting comfortably, then let me begin. It is Thursday, the 23rd of March 2023, and I'm honoured and privileged to have Darius Washington sitting across the table from me.
Yes, sir.
Tour manager for Steve Aoki. Currently, I've worked with your counterpart before many times, Dylan, so I think this will be our first time working together, sir.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I appreciate your time to come in and sit and chat. So to just get it underway, where did it all start for you?
Oh, wow. It's a big question. But I've been working in dance music pretty much my whole life. I lived in Seattle, Washington for the better part of 20 years as a promoter, throwing festivals and events in the northwest of the United States. And that's kind of where my love for production and event work started. That's the starting point. Yeah, so I've been working in dance music my entire career since I'm 17 years old. So. Yeah.
Did you dabble at DJing as well?
Oh yeah. Actually, I played on some of the same stages as Steve over the last couple of years in the US. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So your love for music has always been there. What sort of decided you to get professional and then move towards management?
Well, I guess that was not really something that was planned. It was more of like the natural progression of where things just kind of went.
Yeah.
Like I said, before any of this, I was just throwing events and doing production, creative production, and that kind of just led to more of me wanting to do more freelance work because I was stuck doing production for festivals. And, I'm like, I need to see the world and do something different. So that led to me getting to more like freelance production gigs. That's kind of how we landed here. But this story with Steve as a whole, that's a whole saga. I moved to LA just a couple of years ago. And the opportunity came up for me to do a private event with a DJ that I had no idea who it was until I got there. And it happened to be Steve, and we hit it off. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella.
Lovely guy.
So did you when you was within the productions of the festivals that you were putting on and the parties on, did you do that with yourself, or did you have a team of people that you sort of grew together with?
Yeah, I grew together with this company called USC Events up in Seattle. Worked with them for the better part of 10 years. And then I decided after, 10 years of just doing grinding, and that was time for me to go see the world and do some freelance work. And that's kind of how I got into touring.
Yeah. So then obviously when you met Steve, and like I said, I knew your predecessor Dylan a few times, and Dylan stepped away. So when the opportunity came to get the job, how did that? Was that by accident, or you just kind of?
Well, it was. I don't know if it was necessarily by accident, but I think Dylan had made the plan to come off the road. And when they brought me on, it was just literally for that one private gig. Then about a couple months later, he's like, hey man, the gig that you did with Steve went really well. Are you interested in doing more work with Steve? Yeah, sure. So the next thing we did was go to Japan. Yeah. We went to Japan for, I think it was called the Supersonic Festival, during the middle of COVID. Things were closed. The borders were closed. We had to get a special visa just to go there. And it was a kind of a logistical crazy time, but I think that proved that I was able to, travel with someone of that stature, Steve being that guy. A couple months later, we did the Japan run. A couple months later, Dylan had a conversation with me that he was maybe, wanting to come off the road, and if this was something I'd be interested in to do full time. And hell fucking yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
No looking back.
And it's been an incredible year and a half so far. I think in May it'll be a full year that I've been with Steve. But be about 2 years since we've been working together.
Yeah, of course. So those 2 crazy years, of course. How did that affect you personally? Did it at all? The whole madness that was COVID? Well,
yeah. I moved to Los Angeles in the middle of COVID just because at the time I was living in Seattle, and there was no sign of live music or live entertainment returning at that point. And I was, if I'm going to be just sitting at home, I need to be sitting at home in some place with sunshine instead of in Seattle. So I made a decision to move down to Los Angeles in the middle of COVID. I think it was February 2021.
Right.
And I mean, as far as COVID goes, I just tried to do everything in my power to pivot and make sure I was still working and doing what I can. So my skill set with logistics kind of played into the next thing that I did when I moved down to LA. I actually ran vaccination pods for LA County, over like 500 different pods to get more people vaccinated in the U.S. Kind of led the charge during that, because that skill set, with as far as logistics go, like tied into what I was doing on the grounds there. At the beginning of COVID, I guess, as far as Los Angeles goes, there was just a lot of obviously people out of work, but then the government that was, how do I say this? The government was had a hand in the vaccination efforts, obviously. So the police and fire department were the ones running all of the vaccination pods, and they realized, these people have to go back to work at some point. And there's a lot of industry professionals that are out of work that, are used to getting people in and out of venues safely and doing logistics. And so that's kind of how I segued into running all the vaccination pods in LA County for about a year and a half.
And obviously you earned some money from it.
Oh, yeah. It was really good money, actually.
I was just going to say it was kind of a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing in disguise, actually, because I was able to do exactly what I'm used to doing, but just not in live music, which was fantastic.
Yeah. So when did the regulations sort of ease off, and you was able to sort of see the smoother seas, so to speak?
I would say everything kind of calmed down as far as regulations. Right around the time I started working with Steve, things were starting to lift and people were able to travel, tours were coming back. And so it was around that time. It was actually perfect timing. Yeah. I stopped working for the government in June and started working with Steve full time in June. So it all kind of came full circle.
Perfect.
Right around that time.
So you obviously have one of the most hectic tour schedules of any artist in dance music. How's that handling going for you?
I mean, there is some tired days, but I mean, it's par for the course. I knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah. Steve still has, I think the Guinness World Record for how many shows he's played in a year, and I think he still holds that record. So I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. But again, I'm bred for this. I'm used to, hard work, grinding. So it was just getting his schedule down and getting to know the things that he really likes. And that's kind of spot us to where we are right now. So,
well, he's one of the coolest guys I've ever met.
Oh yeah, he's amazing,
being the superstar that he is. What's it like with the intensity on stage? Because I know he's very, very chill outside, and he's very humble, and he loves to speak to people. But it becomes this machine when he goes on stage.
Yeah, it's game time when it comes to the music. That's the most important thing to Steve and the fans and the shows, and it's a real serious moment when we go on stage. Because he's putting his art out into the world, and yeah, it gets pretty intense. But he brings a lot of energy to the stage, and it's welcomed. Yeah. And just it's full on every time he sets foot on the stage.
So the Tomorrowland, did we meet last summer or not?
We did.
Tomorrow, yeah. So my excuses. So with the first time that you've been, is that the first time you've been to Tomorrowland?
Yeah. So it was my first Tomorrowland, and also experiencing it as a tour manager for closing headliner. That was something that I could have never imagined being as cool as it was, just being on that stage and how obviously infamous Tomorrowland is, I got the best experience possible, for my first time ever being at the festival, closing it out with Steve 2 weekends in a row. It's kind of stuff that dreams are made of, so I'm still in awe that happened. I'm in awe that I'm here right now because, not only have I been to Tomorrowland, and in Belgium, I'm here in Tomorrowland winter. So
how's it going for you here?
Oh, it's amazing. This is the most beautiful place ever. And I'm from a place with lots of mountains in the Northwest. Living in Seattle, we're surrounded by mountains, but this is a whole nother level.
Do you board as well yourself?
I do. Not very good at it,
right.
But I know how to get down the mountain.
Yeah. Not as quick as Steve, though.
No, that's why we didn't go with Steve this morning. Yeah, we'll let him have his time. So that's why we slow him down.
So your schedule now, is this sort of the beginning of the season for you guys? I know you never stop in theory, but like Europe now, are you sort of focused now towards Europe for the rest of
I would say
spring sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, spring, summer, we're probably going to be heading back to Europe. That's where most of his shows are in the summertime or in Europe. But we have had like a pretty grueling like spring and fall. You know, we just did a Brazil tour, did about 5 or 6 dates in Brazil. We're just finishing up an album tour, so it's pretty full on. We actually just don't stop touring.
No,
but we'll be transitioning over to the Europe portion of the tour pretty soon here.
Yeah. So you're the tour manager worldwide. And you've worked with Steve now since, you say, 2 years now. You're coming up to 1 year
full time.
Where would you like to see yourself working together with Steve?
I mean, I'm here to ride till the wheels fall off, man. I really love working with Steve. I enjoy the travel and seeing the world, you know. So I'm here for as long as I can be.
Yeah. So give us a one nightmare story where you had to swim through all that murkiness and come out the other side and was like, I'm proud of myself about that. Can you give me one? Not necessarily with Steve, but maybe even a little further back in the days.
Nightmare story.
Yeah.
That's probably quite a few. But let's see. One in particular that I can remember. Have you ever heard of the Gorge Amphitheater?
No.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place in the Northwest where it's a music venue, holds about 25,000 people.
Wow.
And we had a festival that we created called Paradiso Festival, beautiful event, world-class DJs. And I would say one of my nightmare moments is when we had one of the nights cancel due to bad weather. And it was just... We had a plan in place, but it all went out the window. People were panicking. It was just kind of like not the situation you ever want to be in, especially as an event promoter. It was just chaos. And that's the one thing that comes to mind when, you know, talking about disasters. Usually, I feel like the things have been pretty smooth, but that was one of the craziest things I've dealt with, having a whole night canceled and having to deal with the backlash of the patrons and the media and the press and just all of that. So that's the one thing that comes to mind.
Through it?
Yeah, I got through it. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, indeed. So, and a glorious moment. What's obviously I'm sure there'll be lots and lots to come. But what's
the glorious
one of your best?
The glorious moment was seeing Steve close out the main stage at Tomorrowland for the second weekend. That was. I've never been a part of something so grandiose and amazing, and we have such an amazing team, and Dylan's still on the team, you know, and just leading up to that moment, it was just lots of excitement, especially for me because I'd never been. Steve's been around for a bit, and he's obviously wasn't his first Tomorrowland, but for me it was next level excitement, you know, and so that right now holds the pinnacle of like what I deem as exciting, you know, so far.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's going to be more of those, you know.
For sure.
Every day we travel somewhere new. It's amazing, so.
Yeah. So I've got to get to the Steve told me about how the whole cake situation came around, you know, it's seen it on the video and et cetera, but it's just it kind of gained its own, you know, people bringing signs, you know, like Steve cake me. So the whole situation with the cakes, I did a couple of gigs with him before, and like one promoter would give like 24 cakes, and you know another promoter would have 6 cakes, or you know, is that also part of your?
The cakes is a pretty big deal. We have a writer, just like we have a hospitality writer and production writer. We have a cake writer. Yeah. It's really important that the cakes are correct because you know we're throwing them at high velocity towards people's faces, you know. So it's important that they're done right and that they're safe for throwing. And it's a pretty big deal, you know. We
do you have particular cake makers now?
I mean, not that we deal with personally, but so everywhere we go, the promoter recommends someone to make the cakes, and they get the cake writer, and we work with the actual bakery on like making sure the cakes are as spec and make sure they're safe for throwing. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. Have you thrown one yourself? Have you been caked?
I do not like buttercream on my face, so absolutely not. No. I feel like at some point it's gonna happen.
I think everybody on the team has
been
least
kicked.
Had one
yeah,
time,
it's gonna happen, and it's probably gonna happen when I least expect it. But at some point it'll happen.
You're prepared, though.
I'm prepared, yeah. I'm good at dodging it. So the one thing I really pride myself on is, like, every night, I'm handing him these cakes to be thrown, and, like, I really pride myself on the fact that I don't get any cake on me at all.
Yeah.
And so, like, I strive for that. So we'll see how long that happens.
Yeah, you don't want to be coming out in no...
oh, yeah. Come on, poncho and...
So can you tell us a little bit about the show? Is it tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight.
Tonight.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the show tonight?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be obviously lots of energy. It's Steve Aoki, we're prepared for that. He's really excited to be back here at Tomorrowland. This is family for him, and has quickly become family for me as well. Just the love we receive just up on arrival and just being around. It's going to be a good show.
It was your birthday yesterday as well, wasn't it?
And the day before.
Yeah, there's always a great vibe here, and obviously the view here is just incredible. So how's the hotel?
Oh, it's great.
Up to standards?
Great, yeah, it's up to standards. We usually stay at pretty nice places.
Yeah.
This is no different.
Yeah, cool. So the Darius Washington, you're now based in LA, but was you born and bred?
I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. Do you still have family down there?
All of it, yeah. Only my immediate family is in Washington, but all of my extended family is still in New Orleans.
Okay. So do you have that bluesy... Do you have that bluesy vibe in you?
I tend to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
don't take no shit, do you?
No. That's one thing we don't. Don't let the smile fool you now. Yeah. We still get shit done. We still get it done,
Yeah.
But with grace and humility and, and smiles, because that's important. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
I was just going to say that, but have you had to get mad?
Yeah. I've had to show my teeth.
Okay.
For sure.
But you haven't had to...
No. I believe in, like I said, catching more flies with honey than vinegar. And if that doesn't work, then we show our teeth. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like to see your teeth.
No. Wouldn't recommend it.
No. So, I'm really looking forward to our relationship as we go on, because obviously being the host of the main stage, we're going to be seeing each other from certain events to other events. But Steve never ages, man.
No.
Steve never ages.
Well, I can tell you why. Steve is, like, outside of the music. He's
teetotal as well, isn't he?
What was that?
He's teetotal as well. Not a lot of people know that.
Oh, yeah. He's like, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do anything like that. And outside of the music, his whole vibe is all about health and wellness, and making sure his brain health is okay, because, as a touring DJ, the last thing we do is get sleep, and it's really important, that we do get rest. And so he focuses on, like, the mind and the brain and trying to, like, figure out ways to enhance, the touring side of things, with lack of sleep, so all of his, I would say, like, all of his vibes outside of the music is all about health and wellness and trying to get to a better place with his, with all of his
mental wellness.
Well, yeah, exactly, mental wellness, and it's really important to him. And
what about for you, of course?
Yeah, of course, for me as well. And
does he take you under his wing every now and then when you?
Yeah, it's important that we, we're a team, and we're was only as strong as our weakest person. And he makes sure that, we are striving to be the best we can be as a squad, and so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, good. So do you now focus as well on yourself when you so let's say you go touring for 3 weeks and maybe you get like 4 or 5 hours a night if you're lucky.
Yeah, if we're
some
lucky.
nights you won't get any sleep.
Right.
So, do you make a point of then when you do have those day or two to yourself?
Absolutely. I try to make sure that I'm getting as much rest as I can when I allow myself to do that.
Do you like a spa occasionally as well?
I love a good massage, good cold plunge. That's one thing Steve has got me into.
Right.
Because he's
Wim Hof method, yeah.
Yeah, he's all about the cold plunge, and
he's got one now at his house.
He has a huge one at his house. It's pretty big.
Tried it?
I have not. I actually just went to Steve's home for the first time over the last few weeks, and that place is very magical.
Yeah,
but he has a cold plunge probably about the size of this hotel room.
Yeah, I've seen some photos on there. I can't do it. I can't handle cold water.
It's all mental, man.
It's all in the mind.
Yeah, it's all mental.
But I'm a pussy like that.
But for me, it was really tough as well. Just to, just like, I don't want to be in cold water ever, but you take yourself out of it, right? And let go and release, and it's all mental.
Yeah,
it's all mental.
Yeah. So you're tuned in to be able to do that now.
Not as long as he can, but I can last a few minutes in there without.
Fair play.
Yeah, and and I think 5 minutes is usually like the max. Maybe I think that you're supposed to sit in there until. Yeah, exactly. It's a little frigid,
yeah.
Yeah,
but it does wonders for
it does, yeah, for inflammation, for heart disease, all the a lot of things, there's a lot of benefits from cold plunge and heat therapy and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, you're going to take every tour as it comes, but do you see yourself working with Team Aoki for the coming?
I do. We've meshed and gelled pretty well together. Especially because coming on and filling Dylan's shoes. He's been with Steve for 10 years. And so I feel like where we're going is a good place. Like, things have been great. There's been minimal issues. We've been able to tour the world together, and and I think that I've been able to like, I'm never going to fill Dylan's shoes, but I think I've been able to step in and do my job and make sure that the touring side of Steve is still upper echelon.
Yeah. And do you have to be tough with Steve?
No, not really. Steve has been doing this for a very long time. He knows what time it is, all the time, so I don't have to be tough with Steve.
Yeah. So it's just a case of check the clock.
It's more of let's get Steve up, let's make sure he's where he needs to be. That's probably the toughest thing I have to do is wake him up. He's we don't get very much sleep. So it's he relies on the team to make sure he's awake to keep going. And that's probably I would say that's the toughest. But even then, he wakes up when he needs to.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do.
So that family, do you still do you get to see your family often?
I do. Kind of often, but obviously not with a grueling tour schedule, mostly on holidays, not just, not day to day, but mostly on just the holidays and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So do you think your organisational skills came from your upbringing, or you learnt it along the way? Because you obviously got to be very, very organised.
You do have to be very organised. I think that came just from me working in the industry and just being, working in dance music since the very beginning of my career. I've done this since I was 17 years old, and I feel like it's just kind of I'm naturally organized, so this is kind of par for the course. Obviously we can all be a little more organized, but I think I have a pretty good organizational sense.
Well, obviously. Yeah, we, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about the music and what you want to do, but I want to know more about you. So what can you tell me that we can relay to the world, what people should know about you? How efficient we already know that. Obviously the teamwork that you have now with the Aoki is taking off. It's wonderful. You're in a great place. But do you have other dreams, ambitions? Or you think you've found your lane, so to speak? No,
I obviously have other ambitions outside of Steve and touring. I am also into TV and film, and so that's a really big part of my life, my career moving forward that I would like to pursue. That's another reason why I moved to Los Angeles, because I wanted to pursue a career in TV and film. And I've done a few things during the pandemic on top of working with Steve and working for the government doing the vaccination stuff. And I really love it. So that's my I wouldn't say final goal, but the next thing after, touring, after I get sick of touring, if I ever get sick of touring, is to pursue a career in TV and film. I really enjoy that.
Would you like to sort of be director in producing? Yeah. And of course, Los Angeles is kind of the heart of all of that, isn't it?
That's where it all started. That's where it all is. That's
But you know as well as I do the fakery.
Right.
Can you see past a lot of that now?
Yeah, I think the fact that I moved to Los Angeles as an adult and not like not as like a teenager. Right, exactly. Looking for my next big break. I moved there. I did, have a good group of friends. I have a good group of mentors and people in my life that support me. So I don't really have to deal with all the hustle and bustle of LA and the fakery. I didn't come there for that. I was very focused on what the idea of me moving forward looked like before I moved to LA, and I knew. If as a 21-year-old, it might have been a different story, but I think moving there, yeah, exactly. Moving there as a 30-plus-year-old, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but 30-plus-year-old, it made things a lot easier because I didn't go down there for that. I came down to LA to continue my career in TV and film and music.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite music?
I would probably say neo soul.
Okay.
Yeah, I love dance
Children
music.
of Zeus?
No.
That's a tip for you. Children of Zeus, Manchester band.
Okay.
So, Omar as well? The UK's Omar?
I do.
Yeah. So he was kind of they coined the phrase neo soul off of his sound.
Got it.
From the UK. So who do you listen to in the car? Who's
let's see.
If you're cruising.
Jasmine Sullivan. I love Jasmine Sullivan. Let's see. Salt, Sault, out of the UK, amazing. Krungbin.
Okay.
Wide variety of music. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tend to lean toward the more soulful, neo awesomeness.
Yeah. So how do you find the harder dance?
Well, I'm a raver at heart as well.
Okay.
So okay. I've listened to dance music my whole life, just like I've listened to neo soul. So I've always had a love for dance music.
Yeah, but do you like the harder? Can you handle the harder sounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very different in Europe to where it is in.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm guessing in LA is more rock and roll hard than compared to like the hard style. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I love dance music, all forms of it. Okay. So there's not like, I wouldn't say there's a form of dance music that I dislike. So
drum and bass also.
I love drum and bass.
Yeah.
Love drum and bass.
Yeah, me too. So so what's in store for us tonight?
Lots of energy, lots of cakes. We're gonna close out tonight proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many cakes going out tonight?
I think.
Can you tell us?
Maybe 10. But maybe more.
Okay.
I think probably more. 10's the minimum.
Let's see if we can find one for Roy and Wesley.
Yeah. It's their birthday after all.
It's a private joke for anybody that doesn't know. Yeah, we've got the BSA crew, the backstage artists with us. Have you ever had to handle backstage artists before?
Yeah.
Might be the first time tonight. But so do you still get a chance to party though? You kind of leave it, because obviously if you're on a tour schedule, and then obviously for instance like tonight, let's say you have to fly off tomorrow morning. The after party is out of the question. Yeah,
it's not going to happen. We have a pretty tough schedule, and we're heading directly to Miami Music Week from here.
Yeah,
and so no partying at all. May have a few drinks to celebrate the evening because we are at Tomorrowland Winter after all. But as far as partying, this we don't allow for. This is not time.
Yeah,
and like the last thing I wanted to be doing is flying all over the world hungover.
It's not a nice feeling. No.
Yeah, it's not sustainable either.
No. But do you get a chance to go and let your head down?
Yeah, I love the opportunity when I get to go home. Like even if it's 24 hours, I go home, lay in my bed, and I'm recharged, ready to go. So, yeah,
lovely. Darius Washington, my man.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm going to talk all day. I'm getting a little bit chilly.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Listen, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Some fun tonight.
Yes,
and safe travels.
Thank you, sir.
You know what to do. Listen, like, and share Mr. Darius Washington. Yeah? Big up.